Well, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you today?
I'm great. It's beautiful here in Michigan.
Beautiful here in North Dakota too. We must be in summer.
For a couple days.
A couple days, yeah, and then winter will come back. No, what is it? It's 6 months till Christmas.
Stop it. Don't even go there.
Hey, we're live on Facebook. Welcome everybody. How are you doing today? Give us a thumbs up, the old heart, the smiley face. Let us know that you're there. Andrea, it's always fun to come up and meet you here on Tuesdays.
Yeah, every Tuesday at noon, we do the doctor's clinic with Doc Biz and Friends call at noon Eastern time. So if you're seeing this and you haven't been connected to that page, ask your friend where you saw this information to connect you there, and you can tune in every Tuesday if you can. If not, the calls are always live and recorded in that page, and you can go back and review them later.
That's right. And what page was that again?
That's called Doctor's Clinic, Doc Fizz with Friends.
There you go. And what time is the call? So everybody knows, those of you that are listening to the recording.
It's at noon Eastern time.
Noon Eastern time. Yeah. And what time would that be in Canada?
Well, if you're in Toronto, it would be noon Eastern time.
Oh, really? Okay. And if you're in Winnipeg, it would be 11 Central.
Ah.
Right?
Yeah,
or
if you go that way.
If you're over in Saskatchewan, it'd probably be 10 o'clock.
Well, if you're way over in British Columbia, is that the far west? It would be a 3-hour difference.
3-hour difference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and over in down in Australia and New Zealand and Japan and Europe, it's much later.
Yes, it is. Or earlier.
Well, later because they're a day ahead of us.
Right.
Almost. So, and if you're on Christmas Island, that's like the furthest time zone from us. We're not here to talk about time zones, are we?
Oh no, we're here to talk about some very interesting things today. And after doing a little bit of research, I'm pretty excited about this topic.
Yeah. Yeah. Who doesn't get excited about talking about pooping?
I wasn't talking about that. You're crazy. No, I'm a gardener, and so this topic is very interesting to me.
Oh, I suppose. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, do you put new topsoil in your garden every so often?
Well, I just made that 30-foot raised bed planter, and I bought topsoil from Home Depot and put in there after I put in copious amounts of sod and then decomposing leaves. I put the topsoil on top of that and noticed on the bags that it comes from Georgia. That got me thinking about, well, where'd this soil really come from? What's in this soil I'm growing my vegetables in? That kind of thing. Is this tested? Is it good soil?
Right on.
So you got to wonder about that. And in one 10-foot box, I planted all my zucchini and yellow squash, and they're all like yellow. They're not green, they're yellow. So I went, okay, so what's causing that? So I Googled it, and it said an iron deficiency, whether it's an iron deficiency in the soil or the plant can't uptake the iron due to some reason. So you may have to supplement with an iron in the soil. And I went, oh, okay. So we've had tons of rain this spring, and it said if you have a lot of wet soil or rainy soil, then it kind of depletes the iron.
That's right. That's right. So you just threw some nails down there.
I did. All the excess nails from building.
That's right. Throw them in there, throw them into the dirt, and then just make sure don't step on them.
No, it's raised bed. I can't step on them.
Well, you could, but you'd have to step up.
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, and when you're talking about growing good plants and that, we got to get into the topic of, what's in good soil, what actually makes soil good, and it involves something called humus, right? Humis, humus, and really, from your reading, what did you discover that makes humus?
Well, humus is a decomposition of organic materials.
That's right. So when a tree falls down in the woods and it lays there for a couple million years or hundreds of thousands of years, it decomposes and it breaks down and it makes the soil rich with this humus.
Right.
And over time, that part of the soil is very, very rich. It's rich in minerals and humus is made up of two different components. One of them is called humic acid, and the other one is called fulvic acid. And we've talked a lot about fulvic acid on this webinar before. And where do we find fulvic acid in the sizzle products?
Fulvic acid is found in
Body Shield.
Body Shield. I always forget that for some reason. They need to rename that one.
Yeah, and the other one?
Spectrumax.
Spectrumax. Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about Spectrumax first. Why is it important with a mineral product? Why is it important to have fulvic acid in there?
They help transport the minerals in and out of cells, for one thing.
That's right. Yeah, it's a mineral transporter, and so it'll chelate it, which means that it'll attach to the mineral, and it'll pull the mineral through the cell wall into the cells of the plants. So as the roots of the tree or the plant goes down deep into the ground, it's pulling that out of there, and that's why, like, you're driving along Lake Michigan and you see a tree growing out of the side of a rock. That's how it does it, because that root is breaking down the rock and pulling the minerals out of the rock and out of the dirt.
Right.
And for us as humans, that fulvic acid, it's grabbing that mineral, it's pulling in and out of the cells, but it does something else too. What does it do with toxins? What does fulvic acid do with toxins?
It eliminates toxins. It chelates them out of the body or out of the cells.
Yeah, so the scientists have they've termed it one of the miracle molecules because of its ability to do that. So it'll pull stuff into the cell and it'll pull bad stuff out of the cell, in and out like that. And it works all day long to make it work. But, we kind of have a problem in the world right now, at least in kind of the developed countries, don't we?
Oh, yeah. Our soils are depleted of minerals. And so I ran across a little information. It was actually from 22 years ago or longer. The Rio Earth Summit had a concern over depletion of minerals in 1992.
1992.
Now, that's not a long time ago to me, but it is to a lot of people.
That's right.
Here's their results. Mineralization drops in soil. 72% in Europe, 76% in Asia, 85% in North America. So when we're talking about, I eat lots of broccoli and I eat apples and I eat all this good stuff, and they're thinking they're getting the minerals that they need, but compared to people in the 1940s, 1950s. I mean, I would love to just take one day and go back there and eat the food that those people ate.
Yeah.
Because it has to have such different flavor and wonderfulness about it,
Yeah. But when you're driving around Michigan, I mean, I've been up in your neck of the woods over there. I mean, you have a lot of land that's undeveloped and it's never been farmed, out in the forest, out in the trees out there. Sure, they've harvested the trees, but that soil it's never had crops grown on it.
Oh yeah, and that's very rich from the leaves decomposing in it. That soil is very rich. Like I discovered that years ago when I was walking across some property that was hunting property, and nobody had ever developed that at all. It was mostly trees. And I noticed that the soil there, like I was digging down for some reason, and the soil there was just black and wonderful compared to, you know, the soil that you find outside of the woods. So
Mhm.
it's all about that composition that's going on, breaking down.
Yeah, because all that grass, all the weeds, all the mushrooms, all the different things that are growing in the soil, eventually they die and they decompose, and that's what makes up that new topsoil. And so they're finding that like you said, we've used up a lot of the really good topsoil, and so we've used up a lot of this fulvic acid and this humus, and and so in our body, you know, like I'm just kind of summing up in our body, like Andrea was saying, it's pulling good stuff in, it's pulling bad stuff out, and so the cells can operate the way they're supposed to. And you know, today I really wanted to talk about we wanted to talk about the health of the colon, and
Right, but
and
let's
so
go back one step, can we?
okay,
Because this is the part that's really exciting to me. When you're talking about humic acid or fulvic acid, it comes from decomposed plant life from millions of years ago.
yeah,
So
millions of years,
basically, you're getting mineralization from plants that existed millions of years ago.
yeah,
To me, that's pretty amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't sound like you're too excited about it. I'm super excited about that.
Oh, I am. I'm just thinking ahead here. I'm pulling up a photo of. Can you see my screen share?
Yes, I can.
Yeah. So there's your digestive system. That's your digestive system. So I always tell people that, you know, right up in here, this is your mouth. Stuff goes in there, and back here in this end, this is where stuff comes out.
That's
Right?
right.
And so it's basically, if you look at it like this, it's a pipe it, with valves on both ends that are closed most of the time. And what happens is stuff goes in here, it comes down this tube, you know, down the esophagus, it goes into the stomach, and in the stomach, there's a really strong acid in there. I mean, an acid that's strong enough that if you swallowed a nail or a quarter or whatever, eventually it would dissolve the metal, wouldn't it?
Yes, it would.
You know, and then it's stronger than the acid in Coca-Cola, and then it goes down from there and it goes into the small intestine. But along the way, you've got the pancreas, you got the liver, you got the gallbladder, and they're adding things into the mix, basically, right?
Right.
And so it mixes in churning, and if you take a stethoscope and listen to your gut, you should hear gurgling sounds all day long as it's mixing and churning and adding these different things. And the pancreas produces enzymes, and what do the enzymes do?
They break down the substances that you eat.
They break it down, exactly. And then the liver and the gallbladder, they help by adding different things. The gallbladder primarily for fat, and the liver to detoxify, but to add extra things to it. And so you have to have that digestion, you know, and like it says here in this article, you know, why is it important? Because the proteins get broken down into amino acids. That's the little tiny building blocks. And we hear Tom talking a lot about amino acids when we're talking about the RIP product. You happen to be drinking one right now, don't you?
I do. Look.
That's right. And so you're
It's
drinking
here.
you're drinking Sizzle Rip, which is made up of essential branched chain amino acids, which means that there's amino acids that are attached together and they branch out. So it's not just in a chain like this. It branches out like you think of it like a fork in the road, right?
Right.
And then fats, the fats in your food, like if you eat an avocado, that's broken down into fatty acids, and carbohydrates break down into your simple sugars like fructose and glucose and things like that, right? So really, really important there. But today I really wanted to talk about primarily the large intestine. So kind of breaking that down a little bit further, right? Here's a photo of the large intestine, and you can see that it at the what's called the cecum there. You see the cecum? That's
Yep.
where the small intestine attaches to the large intestine.
Right.
And then so the large intestine, you have the ascending colon. It starts from down there by the appendix. It goes up, then it goes across, right under your stomach and underneath your heart in that area. That's called the transverse colon. And then it goes down on the other end called the descending colon. And then it goes through the sigmoid colon, and finally it goes down to the rectum and it comes out the other end.
Right.
Pretty simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
And inside of there, this is what it kind of looks like. What do you think of that?
Yeah, there's a little villi all over on the inside.
Yeah. And the villi, what are they for?
They move stuff along and exchange nutrients and waste product.
Yep. It creates a surface area, right? You can see as it follow the red there. If you follow that little red, it's going in and out, in and out, in and out like that. That creates a large surface area.
Right.
And that's where all your food gets digested and stuff is added and stuff is absorbed. And then you can see kind of the different cell layers. You can see that there's glands in there. There's submucosa. And so when we're talking about mucus, what's the mucus layer?
Would that be like where the bacteria growth is?
That's right. So you got kind of that slimy mucus area. And think of it like think of it kind of like a covering that protects the inner cells from being exposed directly to the food, because in your food there's obviously there's toxins as well. It's not just nutrients, is it?
No, and bad bacteria.
Yeah. And there's kind of a balance when you look at the intestine. There's kind of a balance. There's a balance between the good and the bad. Right? Good and evil, always fighting each other. And so as you're looking through this, you can see then there's muscles and there's nerves and all these different things. But bottom line is that that's all important. But let's break it down a little bit further, right? And so, can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah. And so when you're looking at that, don't look at the lamina propria or the muscular mucosa. Look at the absorptive cells and the globulate cells, right?
Okay.
And you can see there. You notice that basically it's one cell layer thick. You notice it's not multiple layers of cells. It's just one cell layer thick.
So it's like a barrier.
Yeah, so it's like a wall, and in between each of those cells, they're tightly packed together. They're like let's say that these are the individual cells. My fingers are the individual cells, and so in between the cells, nothing can get in here because I'm holding my fingers tightly together, right? But if I do this, right, now stuff can leak in here.
Right.
Okay. And stuff that shouldn't get in here can get in here.
Right.
And so the difference between a healthy gut lining, where it's tightly packed and opened up, that's what we call leaky gut syndrome.
Aha.
Right? So when you're looking at this drawing here, imagine all of those cells being pulled apart. And
that would not be good.
It's not good. And so a good descriptor that I heard on a video last year. I believe I was listening to a video, and a good descriptor that I heard, they said, think of it like Velcro. When the cells are tightly packed together like this, it holds them together, and you have to you can't let stuff get through. But if you rip it apart like ripping apart Velcro, now all of a sudden you end up with that leak in there. And we get that because of different things. I mean, one of the things that we hear a lot of people talking about nowadays is glyphosate.
Yes.
Right. And I remember watching a video years ago, and this scientist from Monsanto, he said, oh, it's so safe you can drink it. You remember that video?
I do, but he wouldn't drink it.
He was being interviewed. Yeah, he wouldn't drink it, would he?
No.
Or
and we've talked about that a lot on here, glyphosates and their effect on the bowels.
Yeah. So they're saying that glyphosate, it blows it apart, and it causes that condition that we were just talking about with leaky gut syndrome.
Yep.
Yeah. And so glyphosate isn't safe for you at all. That scientist that wouldn't drink it, that was probably a wise thing for him not to have done, right?
Right. And it's not just like the substance that you drink. It's basically threaded throughout our entire food system right now. And people could do a easy Google search and go, what products have the most glyphosates in it? You'll be very surprised to see that probably just a lot of things in your pantry, it contains glyphosates. And one of the worst ones is Cheerios.
Cheerios? Oh my God, come on.
And they're so high in glyphosates, and mothers across the nation are giving their little babies who are just learning how to eat foods with their fingers Cheerios all the time.
Well, I'd rather give my kids Fruit Loops.
Well, that's just about as bad.
It's probably worse because now you got all the sugars on top of it.
No, you have the dyes in the
right. It's like colored Cheerios, right?
Right.
But that Monsanto, that glyphosate. Right now there is no Monsanto. Monsanto was bought up by Bayer, but it blows apart these cells, and it makes it so that there's leaky gut syndrome. And what happens with leaky gut syndrome then is, imagine in between these cells that are supposed to be packed together, they're loose now. And so let's say you eat a steak and you chewed it up, and it's been digested by the different enzymes, the different pancreatic enzymes, proteases and things like that. But it doesn't get completely broken down. And let's say that this hole in your intestine is big enough. Now what can happen is that incompletely broken down protein can pass through there, and it gets absorbed into the body. Well, that's not good, is it?
No, it's basically at that point a waste product, right?
Well, it's not a waste product yet. And this is the point that I'm trying to make with people is that so you have this ICP, this incompletely broken down protein. It gets absorbed into the system, and your immune system, if it's working the way that it's supposed to, your immune system is going to attack that incompletely broken down protein. And when it attacks that protein, remember that your body is made up of protein. Your DNA and your cells and your muscles and all the different parts of your body, they have protein.
Right.
And so if that protein, let's see that steak or that piece of chicken or that a plant protein, whatever sorts of protein you have, looks like, let's say it looks like the cells of your lungs.
Okay.
So your immune system attacks the incompletely broken down protein, but then after a period of time, your immune system builds what they call memory cells. Uh-huh. And these memory cells, they remember that, oh yeah, we got to attack anything that looks like that.
Oh, wow.
So now, instead of just attacking the cells of the incompletely broken down proteins, now they start attacking your lungs.
Okay. So I'm getting a connection here with autoimmune.
There you go. Yep, allergies
So autoimmune
and all
disease
of it.
is your own immune system attacking your own body. So really you could deduct from what you're sharing that, you know, leaky gut syndrome is the basis for that.
It's the basis of that.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? So you start thinking about all these things that you know. I mean, we know a gentleman, his name is Mike. Mike's got multiple sclerosis, right?
Right.
Multiple sclerosis is an autoimmune condition where the immune system is attacking his nerves. And it's eating away at the myelin sheaths at the nerves, and it's making his nerves so his nerves short out. It'd be just like if you scrape the insulation off an electrical wire, pretty soon the wires are going to start sparking, right?
Right.
That's what's happening in amyotrophic lateral sclerosis or Lou Gehrig's disease. That's what's happening in multiple sclerosis. That's what's happening in a lot of these different nerve conditions, right? But not only that, how about asthma? How about allergies, right?
So that would be the lung problem.
Yeah. What about irritable bowel?
Oh yeah. So many people have that.
Crohn's disease,
Oh yeah.
rheumatoid arthritis,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I can just go on and on and on and on and on about all these. There's like, I think I read there's like over 85 different named autoimmune diseases.
So I would say and deduct that gut health is one of the most important things you could have.
That's my thoughts. And we've talked about it before when we're talking about stem cells. If your body is busy trying to repair things, what's the most important part of the body as far as your immune system is concerned?
Well, protecting your organs that keep you alive.
Protecting the gut. Because if the gut gets sick, it's going to let stuff in that's not supposed to get in. And let's say that that's a really nasty bacteria, because there's some nasty bacteria out there. And so if it lets that stuff in, it can kill you almost instantly. I mean, look at flesh-eating bacteria.
Yeah, you have a little bit of knowledge about that, don't you?
Oh, we've seen that. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and they said that their friend got flesh-eating bacteria, and they had to have both legs amputated, and then it moved up to the arms, and they had to have both arms amputated, and then it moved up to the face, and it actually started eating the face and ate the lips and around the mouth. Gone.
Oh, that's horrible.
Oh, I mean, can you imagine how painful would that be to have a bacteria eating you from the inside out?
Yeah, that's bad.
Horrible.
And you know, to fight bacteria, well, we won't even go there.
Yeah, you know, and so bottom line is that if you want to have a healthy immune system, you've got to look at this picture right here. This is the basis of a healthy immune system right there, with those cells being packed together tightly like that. And you can see the little villa. That's where it goes in and out. That's the villa, and it has to be tightly packed together. Otherwise, your immune system's not going to work right. And like we were talking about, fulvic acid moves it in and out, and the other components of humus, which comes from compost. But it can't just be compost that you made in your garden yesterday. It can't be last week's grass, right?
Right.
Because that doesn't have fulvic acid in it. It has to be something that's been decomposing for thousands of years, millions of years, and so we have to start looking at this. And so when we spray Monsanto all over the ground, and where we spray fertilizers and all these different things, and we kill off the normal healthy bacteria growth in the soil, it's really not doing us as much good as what we thought it would.
No, not at all. And they've been doing that for almost 100 years now.
That's right. And really, in the last 50 years, we've really become a chemical dependent world, because now the plants can't even grow in the ground without spraying the ground with specialized fertilizers that can work around the other chemicals. So you have chemicals that make it so that the plants can grow where the other chemicals are. It's like a a cycle that we've created a
Mass
problem.
destruction.
Yeah. And the same thing is going on in our body. And we start looking at, I mean, I would say my thinking, this is my opinion. I haven't seen this written anywhere, but I'm just going to say, in my opinion, I would say that almost everybody has some sort of autoimmune condition going on.
Yeah.
Almost everybody.
Well, it makes sense because almost everyone has issues with their gut health.
Yeah, it's like 80%, according to the statistics that I've read, 80% of people have problems with their gut, constipation, diarrhea, leaky bowels, things like that. And so, do you think we need to hammer on this anymore? That, for those of you that are listening to this live on Facebook, I mean, give me a thumbs up, right? I mean,
Right.
do you understand what we're talking about? Does it make sense that this is you, Andrea? This is you. This is your daughter. This is your son. This is your neighbors. This is your mom. This is everybody. Like I said, has a problem. You don't have to look around and go, oh, I wonder where I can find somebody that might be suffering from that, right?
Right. We all are.
You and you and you and you and you, everybody.
So many people talk about how they get bloated, and that's a really good sign of having a leaky gut issue, right?
That's right. And so if you're leaking all this stuff by and your immune system is down, guess what ends up happening is you absorb a toxin. And what's a toxin? A toxin is a substance that steals the electron from another cell. And when you steal an electron from another cell, what do you get?
You make it unhealthy. It's
incomplete. So you end up with a free radical, right?
Right.
And free radicals, you get enough of them around, and they steal electrons from each other. Eventually, that causes cancer to grow.
Right.
So, folks, I'm telling you, this is a major problem. This is something we need to look at. And you don't have to look far before you find somebody that's suffering from it. It's probably you. And so let's talk a little bit, now that we got everybody understanding what it is, and we got them understanding that it's them, now, wouldn't you want to get this taken care of right away if you knew how?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so how do you go after this? How do you make the function of the digestive system work better? And a lot of people, they say right away, oh, probiotics. Well, that's good. But the problem with it is that if I take and go out here and I have a patch in my yard that grass isn't growing, if I throw grass seed out there, does that mean I'm going to get good green grass growing in that area?
No, there's something in the soil that's causing it to not grow.
Yeah, it's missing one of the key components. And what if that key component is actually humus?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, in your body, if I take and give you lots of probiotics, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to take hold and they're not going to start growing. They're not going to put those roots down. They're not going to fix things, because we've got a problem with the cells being pulled apart. Right. And we've got to pull them back together. We got to put the Velcro back together. We got to zip that lining back together. And what's the best product that we got?
The one I can't remember. Body Shield.
Body Shield. Exactly. and so it's shielding your mucus from issues. And it has high levels of fulvic acid. And folks, when you hear me say fulvic acid, it's Fulvic, fulvic acid, not folic acid, because a lot of people think that I'm saying folic acid. Folic acid is a form of B vitamin. Fulvic acid is a form of dirt. right? That's the easiest way to describe it. And so when you talk to people, make sure that you get them to understand you're not talking about folic acid. You're talking about fulvic acid.
Right.
And fulvic acid comes from the decay and decomposition of organic material, like Andrea said earlier. And that's what helps to protect these cell layers. And that's what's found in Body Shield.
And it's, you know, it's a natural, quote, natural mineral. And so the best source for it is from nature, where it was decomposed from living things.
That's right.
Some supplements out on the market create what they call a mineral supplement, but it's made from ground up rock and things like that. So it didn't come from a living source. So it wouldn't be as beneficial as a natural humus.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing about fulvic acid is that it has to be active. It has to be able to be activated so it can pull that stuff in and out. And so a lot of products, as I did my research, you know, the last 3 or 4 days on this talk today, I don't just jump into these things and wing it. I actually go look this stuff up. And as I did my research on it, they say that a lot of products really don't work because they don't have an active fulvic acid.
Right.
You know, and so Tom's done his homework on this product again, and so when you take a look at the product, it's fulvic acid and limamui, which is extract from brown seaweed.
Right.
Fucoid.
So the article I read is that both humic and fulvic acid, the base is from a seaweed.
That's right. From millions and millions of years ago, when the entire planet was underneath a large ocean.
Right.
And so seaweed again. Isn't that crazy? Because we find that fucoid is so beneficial, isn't it?
It is. And guess what came out in my news this week? They've discovered a seaweed that tastes like bacon.
No way.
Yeah.
Bacon.
Tastes like bacon.
I wonder if we could come out with a product and just call it bacon. We could name it bacon.
Right? The bacon of the sea. Instead of the chicken of the sea, it's the bacon of the sea.
Bacon of the sea. Now you're being silly. You know.
Trying.
But think about it, folks. So we've got Body Shield that's made up of decomposed seaweed, fulvic acid, and it also has seaweed extract. So it's old seaweed and new seaweed in a product. We're getting 560 milligrams. And from my reading, Andrea, they're saying that we should be getting about 1,000 milligrams or 1 gram of these fulvates, right?
Uh-huh.
And if you're having some intestinal problems, so let's say that you suffer from an autoimmune disease, or worse yet, what if you're suffering from cancer? You want to make sure and close this up. You want to close up those gaps. You want to zip that Velcro together. I'd take a double.
Well, I think that most people don't even understand that they're suffering from that
until it's too late.
Until, you know, something becomes very serious. So why not do it preventatively?
That's right. But if you have a problem, what I was going to say, based on my reading and my opinion, again, we can't prescribe, we can't treat. You know, I can diagnose because I'm a doctor, but you know, for the rest of you, you're not a doctor, so you can't diagnose people, and you can't treat things like that. You can't make even insinuations that you're treating anything. And so when you're looking at all of this, just you're improving the function, and so I would say a double dose if you're having any issues.
Right.
Double dose. If you're not having any issues, single dose. If you're having issues, double dose. If you have, you know, any autoimmune disorders, which we've already said, it's probably all of us, most of us, right?
Right.
So the Body Shield, and then I don't know. I mean, we were talking earlier, Andrea. Where would you put it in the lineup of products? Would you say, oh, I can afford this and this and this? I'll put it on the bottom of the list. Where do you think Body Shield should actually be on that list?
Well, based on, what you've shared today, I would say it should be a high priority product.
It should be up the chain, right? Right up there with the Triangle of Life, right up there with the Age Pill. Body Shield should be right up there.
And because of the action that it does in the body, I mean, there's other benefits you've mentioned in the past about Body Shield too, like help with radiation exposure due to probably the fulvic acid, right?
Yeah, because they when Chernobyl, you remember Chernobyl over in Russia?
I do.
The nuclear reactor that leaked, and they took and they made cookies and then if they fed it to the children that lived in the area, and they sprayed fulvic all over everything to absorb the radiation. And and I saw a video. A guy went in there with a motorcycle and he was videotaping it, and it's just a lush forest now.
Yeah.
They didn't have any issues with the radiation, because you'd think that the radiation would have killed everything, but because they put the fulvates and the zeolites and all that stuff in and on the soil and on the surface of everything, it protected it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So wouldn't you say that we need that too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So anyhow, folks, I just wanted to really cover that. I think it's really important for all of you and to understand the importance of fulvic acid and the importance of what it can mean for your gut health and what it can do for your cells. And it could probably help you get healthier along the way, can it?
Yeah. Hey, maybe I'll just, get me a bottle for my garden and open all those capsules up and dump it into my zucchini and yellow squash. See what happens.
Well, I would tell you, I mean, based on where you're living up there in Michigan, go up into the forest. It's not that far away.
No, it's about 30 feet away.
Yeah, about 30 feet away. But go into the forest and grab some of the soil from back in there. Grab that good moist stuff, the stuff that has lots of worms in it, right?
Right.
And because those worms are living on that nutrition and soil. If there's no worms, it's probably not very good soil, is it?
Right.
Right. So, okay, folks, it's the end of the time. We've been talking for over 45 minutes now. So I'm gonna hand it over to Andrea and let her close out the call. And folks, share this with people. Share it off. And if you enjoyed what we're talking about and you got something out of it, let us know. Let us know. And if you have questions on things, or you have a topic that you think you'd like to have us cover, let us know. I mean, that's what Andrea and I are here for, is to help you understand the products and maybe make you a little bit wiser on how to stay healthy, improve the function of your body. And that's how you want to describe it when you're talking to people, is that we're doing function improvement. We're not treating, we're not curing, we're just improving, we're optimizing the function. That should be.
Right.
You remember on Saturday mornings they had conjunction junction. What's your function? Connecting verbs, clauses, and phrases. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, I'll let you close out the call.
Okay, well, function improvement is what we talk about often on this call, but we're concentrating recently on product information and a blend of the two, really. And Doc is going to be categorizing this in his YouTube channel so that people can find it easily. So I think we're going to set up a playlist in there where he's going to put all these short videos about products, so that when you want to share information with somebody you're concerned about or care about, with a specific thing for function improvement, you can easily find it. So thank you for joining us, and thank you, Doc, for being here every Tuesday. I appreciate that, and I'm sure we all appreciate it. You sharing your knowledge and your wisdom on things. And just get back with the person who shared this video with you or where you saw it on their social media and ask for more information. We'll see you next Tuesday at noon Eastern time.
Thanks, Andrea.
Bye, Doug.
Bye.